First of all, I want to ask you about your impression about Poland. I mean, could you compare the first impression when you came here first time and the Poland when you can see nowadays?
Oh yeah, first time we came, there was very little wealth. You know, it was, and even things like we had jeans, you know, American jeans, you know, that was a big deal. I remember the taxi drivers always wanted, if they could, they wanted us to pay in dollars, not zloty. Yeah. And now you come here, and of course it's now a prosperous country. It's a lovely country. What I noticed here is in my town, the moment I walk out my door, I see Islam everywhere in my country. They're all over the place. It's true where I live. And you don't get that here, which is good, I think. But I'm amazed how clean everything is here. In Britain, the British are terrible. They just throw things away. You know, there's rubbish everywhere. I'm amazed how clean it is here. It's just beautiful. So I think that Poland's improved and improved. It's gone on and got better and better, I think.
Okay, so I have a second question. I mean, I was reading the Chris Pike book about your first albums, and yeah, but
I don't read them.
Yeah, but
I put nothing in those books. Sometimes I get quoted, but that's only because he's just quoting something I said. But I've not done an interview for him. I don't like his books.
Okay.
They don't say anything about Budgie that I agree with. And he goes and asks people who don't like the band. You know, Pete Boot doesn't like us. Pete Boot hates my band. And if ever he gets interviewed by Chris Pike, I guarantee that he's going to say something nasty about my band. I have no idea why he feels like that. But yeah, I don't read his books.
Yeah, but
Chris Pike just wants to fill his book. That's what I think.
But I want to ask you about your first rehearsals with Budgie in the first years. I mean, the barn in Drope under the Cardiff. It was
the Drope, yeah.
Yeah. It's very important to me because I have my own band, and I want to ask you about the atmosphere in the barn.
Oh, it was brilliant. It was out in the countryside, just outside Cardiff, and I just remember going there. We just arrived, get the gear in. We would be there day after day after day after day, just playing. We used to jam all the time. So if we had an idea, we'd be playing that idea over and over and over and over, you know, and then it would go some way and go another, and that's how we could sort of, you know, because we weren't very good players to start off with. We weren't, and that's how we had to improve. Like, you know, it was brilliant. I loved it. Real good times, you know, me, Tony and Ray Phillips.
Yeah.
Really good times.
And I want to ask about the riffs. I mean, you were writing them only with Tony, or somebody was helping you?
That was me and Tony. I mean, basically, I was a songwriter in a sense, because I'd already started writing songs before I met Tony. But Tony was always, you know, he's got a great imagination. I'd hear him playing something, I'd say, that bit there, keep that bit. And he'd go, okay. You know, so he'd be coming up with these ideas. I was just like an editor, you know, a producer. That's how it worked. And then you know, that's how our songs came, is from, sometimes I might write a song, but sometimes it would be part Tony and part me, and then part Tony and part, you know, I was just kind of like an editor, you know, like a producer in a sense, in lots of ways. But it was me and Tony, you know.
I had a nice chat with a person who will perform here with the Voodoo band, and I heard that they wanted to perform with you, to have a gig, but finally you won't play together.
What they called?
Voodoo, Natalia Sikora and Voodoo band.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. Well, I can't sing very well at the moment, so. But apparently he wants to do one of my songs, which is fine, you know. Okay. The more bands do my songs, the happier I am.
Yeah, you written Parents when you were a teenager, yeah?
Yeah, before Budgie, actually. When I was about 15, 16, I think.
But it's very, very, I think it's a very adult text, you know, the lyrics.
I know. I don't know where I got it from. I have no idea. You know, it's. I think I mentioned in the interview though. When in 1962, so that's 4 years earlier, and the Beatles turned up. I used to have a friend in school. We were friends in junior school and then in secondary school, but we used to write songs together. Mm-hmm. He was a good songwriter with me, with a pair of us. We were always writing songs, you know. So when I wrote Parents, it was because I'd been writing lots of songs with him. I can't remember half of them, but yeah. So I can remember writing Parents, and then I put it on a tape recorder. I remember that, and then going round his house and playing it to him, saying, "What do you think?" And he said, "Yeah, it's great." You know, I can remember the thing, great, you know, tick. And then when Budgie turned up, you know, it eventually ends up on, you know, because sometimes I've got a song called, which one am I thinking of? I'm trying to think of the title of this song. I think it's on the last album actually. I'm terrible for these sort of things, and. It's the actual track called "You're All Living in Cuckoo Land." Well, I'd written that years ago. I can't remember, back in the 90s somewhere, way back in the 90s, or late 80s, I forget. And I often have them in my head for years and years and years, just ideas. And I just pull them out. I was really happy the way it came out on the album, because we had Simon Lees on guitar, and he plays a beautiful guitar solo on it. You know, he's a bit of a shredder, you know. But he plays this beautiful melodic solo on there. And there's one point in his solo where, the back of my hair's got, you know, it's just now and again just hits the mark, you know, bang on, you know. Yeah, so you can have ideas hanging around for years, you know. Sometimes you can go in the studio and write one in the studio. I did that on one track. I'm trying to think of it. Ba-bum, ba-bum, what's that? Black Velvet Stallion, it's called. I wrote that in the studio. I wrote it in the studio, we did it in the studio, and that was it. It was done. You know, other times it takes years.
So creativity is, you know, something which came with us in every moment, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I think of other things, you know. I'm not a photographer, but I noticed the colour of rust, you know, metal. And I think it's absolutely beautiful. And I was looking at some rust on some metal, you know, this fencing, you know, it's a big patch of beautiful rust, and then it went into the actual metal colour itself. Like. And I thought, I'd love to photograph that, you know, have a big photograph of it, you know. In fact, I'd like to do lots of pictures of rust. And then I thought it'd be nice to paint it in oils or something as well, you know. Just so you know, you don't just. Not that I've ever done it, but I used to do when I was young. I used to do painting and stuff, you know. So I think of other things, you know. I'm quite happy to sort of think of. I've never actually thought of a film, you know. I've thought of a script, but I've never thought of an actual film. And anyway, most of my ideas are humorous.
Yeah, as we can see, you have a great sense of humor. You are still laughing and have some jokes.
I'll probably get on a lot of people's nerves as well, too.
And I will have a last question to you. On YouTube, we can see some videos with your performances with the band called Night Owls. It's a kind of back to the roots.
Oh, right, yeah. Oh, that's a friend of mine. And I knew him in the 60s. And he plays in a band. He plays electric guitar in a band with a bluesy sort of jazzy blues singer, and I play bass for him. He's another friend of mine. And I said, you used to play folk guitar, didn't you? In the 60s, you know. There's a famous folk track called Angie. Angie is a folk track that was Davy Graham, who influenced all the folk scene in Britain. And that was one of the tracks that Davy Graham played. It was called Angie. And all the folk guitarists wanted to play it, like, you know. And I remember this friend of mine, Jeff. I said, why don't, you know, do you ever do anything like that? And he said, no, I haven't. I said, come on, let's do something. Because I like acoustic stuff, you know. And so I talked about it, and then he said, okay. So we just started putting together a few things that were light and acoustic, electroacoustic mainly. Yeah. And made sure we have a drummer who plays with brushes. Uh-huh. You don't want sticks, not with electroacoustic. And it's brilliant because the drummer with the brushes, it's like having a percussion outfit with you. He's constantly sort of, you know, and you can get dynamics. You can go loud and go quiet and go loud. You know, with a rock band, it sounds like bang, you know. I love it. I really enjoy it, and it's nice to help out my friend, like, you know. And he's surprised. It's brought him out of himself as well. And he's recently talking to me about, I've got some new ideas, we can do stuff, you know. Because we're doing some stuff by Keb Mo, and I'm trying to think of the other guy. You know, just sort of stuff that I never heard of before, you know. I love it, you know. It's.
But you're playing only in Cardiff in clubs?
Budgie, I'm playing. I haven't played with Budgie since Gdyni 6 years ago.
Uh-huh. But I mean, with Night Owls, you're playing only in Cardiff?
Oh yeah, just nearby.
Uh-huh.
You know, anywhere we can play. You know, I just want to play. I don't care if there's anybody there, as long as the three of us can have a little play together. But near where my friend lives, there's a local place that we can go to. That's probably what has been filmed and put online. Yeah, I was wondering when it would get online. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the interview. It was a very big pleasure to
me.
me.
What's your name?
Martin.
Martin. Yeah. I have a Polish friend in Cardiff. His name's Martin.
Oh, that's very nice.
There you go. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.